Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out at the range with some 9mm AKs. I've been asked on some of my Instagram posts where I'm posting 9mm AKs, what's the point of such a creature? Why does it exist? And this is where I think a lot of shooters lose sight of the fact that shooting can just be fun. It doesn't have to be tactical. Every gun I own isn't necessarily a self-defense firearm. I own a lot of firearms, I just shoot for the sheer fun of shooting them. And 9mm AKs fall into that category, but they could also be used tactically. The Vityaz that the Russians adopted was, intended to be not only a sporting firearm, but also a military police type firearm. So why 9mm AKs? Sometimes you can shoot at indoor ranges with rifle cartridges, but many times you can't. 9mm is affordable to shoot, but so is 7.62x39. Most indoor ranges will allow you to shoot a 9mm carbine like this, but they may not allow you to shoot 7.62x39 or rifle cartridges. So that is another plus for the 9mm AK. But I'm going to circle back to them just being fun. That's why I own them. They're a lot of fun to shoot, and 9mm readily available at any gun store or Cabela's you go to. And it can be argued 7.62x39 is as well. So when the 9mm AK started coming to the US market, a lot of people surprisingly were asking for them, and that's what drove Definitive Arms to build the rifle that I'm holding here right now. This is the AKX9, and this was developed by Definitive Arms, and Chase was trying to answer the call for a 9mm AK. There had been previous attempts that weren't all that successful. This one actually made it into full production, but it was the first viable attempt to make a reliable 9mm AK here in the United States. And this thing eats everything we've ever put in it. Heavy, hollow points, lightweight 115 grain ball rounds. It cycles everything without having to change buffers or springs or anything. It was really quite the feat. And we'll take a look at it here on the inside. It's a standard AK top cover, standard AK recoil spring, but the bolt is purpose-built. This is a weighted rod out here on the end that rides inside the gas tube, but as you can see, that bolt is machined for the sole purpose of this firearm. But internally, you have a standard AK trigger, standard AK furniture all around, gas tube, everything. The only thing that's really unique about this is the barrel, the bolt, and it fits very, very tightly together. But this thing's bone dry. I don't think I've lubricated it since I started shooting it years ago. And there we go. It's never given me any problems whatsoever. Now you'll notice also, this will become relevant later in the discussion, that back here we don't have any buffering systems. And you can see the travel of the bolt. Okay, it's just straight blowback. Again, standard top cover. So there's a lot of parts commonality with this, and these were extremely desirable. They fed from Colt SMG mags. There was some blowback. People didn't want these, but at the time these were readily available and very affordable. And some people said, oh, I'd rather have it with a Glock magazine, or I'd rather have it with an HK-MP5 magazine. This made a lot of sense. Again, the magazines are readily available, quite affordable, and they allow this gun to lock open on the last shot fired. And like any AK, once you find that sweet spot, you can fire them really, really fast. Again, locks open, beautifully made gun, but unfortunately, these are collector's items. Let's take a look at some stuff that's currently on the US market. We would like to thank our friends over at Big Daddy Unlimited for helping to make today's video possible. If you guys would like to do us a solid, just swing by the Big Daddy Unlimited website and sign up for 99 cents for the first month and just check out the service that they provide. They're kind of the Sam's Club of the online gun world. So again, please swing by Big Daddy Unlimited and check it out for just 99 cents. That helps us out, keeping the channel flowing, and it gives you an opportunity to pick up some good deals. One of the next successful designs from PSA, or Palmetto State Armory, was the AKV9, and this gun was developed likely in response to Definitive Arms AKX9. They even used a similar naming convention, AKX, AKV. See what they did there? But this gun was designed from the ground up to be a 9mm as well. Now, it has a metal magazine well like the Definitive Arms gun. It has a top cover that hinges up like a crank, but back here And this is a whole evolution in and of itself. You'll see that we have spacers and buffers back here to get the gun to work. And that's because originally the gun, I pointed out some problems with the gun, and the gun had issues with this rubber piece. If it went missing or disintegrated, as rubber pieces often do, the bolt would come back and hang up on the trigger, and it would just cause a malfunction with every shot. So the answer was for them to redesign it, relaunch the gun, and one of the things that they did was put this aluminum block back here, so if this piece completely goes away, it's still going to work. The bolt, again, is purpose built. And this is a very heavy gun, very, very heavy gun. Inside you'll see what they deemed, I shouldn't say they deemed it, they just called it the Mac bracket. Another problem I found with their early guns was that rounds and spent cases could fall behind the magazine, get into the trigger mechanism, and bind the action up. And that was part of the second phase or relaunch of the gun as well. And Palmetto made a video and called this the Mac bracket. So they were, and which I thought was pretty cool, they were giving credit to me for helping point out some of the issues of the early guns. Again, you have standard AK furniture. Out here on the end, this looks like a 4-piece Bulgarian hobo muzzle device, but it's not. I picked this up for 24 bucks from PSA. It's just a different muzzle device I thought looked kind of cool on the gun. Putting this one back together is very simple. You still have to push that hammer down to get the bolt to go over it. Standard AK recoil spring with these components just slid over it. And put it back together. This makes it a little bit more difficult, but not much. And then the top cover just hinges down. This is a piece of machined aluminum on top. It has a pick rail, a rear sight that's fixed, and this gun retails for right around $800, a little over $800, as you see it configured here without the red dot sight, and of course without the muzzle brake. These guns made use of the Scorpion magazines, which when these were designed made perfect sense. Scorpion magazines are like 20 bucks and are reliable and also allowed for a last round hold open. But PSA went a step further and designed their own magazines to work with the gun, so it will run with Scorpion mags or it will use their own magazine. And instead of 30 rounds, these have 35 rounds of ammunition in them. This is a black one, this is a smoke one. They offer it in different colors, and they even have one that looks like a banana. You know, banana mag was a thing in the 80s. So this one has that curvature to it. You have a flapper release right there, and it looks really sharp. Now again, this gun is very heavy for a pistol. Has a SB tactical brace on it. And let's do a little bit of shooting with it. I'll turn my red dot sight on here. All right, here we go. All right, and the gun does lock open, last round fired. Drop the magazine out, put a fresh mag in, drop the bolt, and resume shooting. Again, a very interesting gun, and it comes in at a price point of, again, right around 800 bucks or so, depending on how you have it configured. There are a number of different configurations of the gun. The firearms I've shown you previously were an effort to replicate or replace this on the US market. This is the KR9 in the United States, but overseas in Russia, it's known as the Vityaz. And this is a purpose-built 9mm AK. And the Russians built it as a submachine gun. This is an SBR, that's why it has a short barrel and a triangle folding stock on it. But this represents the higher cost option of the 9mm AKs I'm showing you this afternoon. And that's of the guns that are available, because the AKX9 was probably the most expensive, but it's not currently available. This one is, and it retails for right around 1,200 bucks. It's available as a rifle with a 16-inch barrel, as a pistol with a brace, or as an SBR as you see it here. But taking a look at this, you're going to see that some of the other US-made options were definitely inspired by the Vityaz. The KR9 has a hinging top cover. This is sheet metal with rivets holding the pick rail to the top cover. The recoil spring has, on the rear of it, this extra tang sticking off. And what that does is it interfaces with the bolt. When it comes rearward, it hits that part of the recoil spring assembly versus smacking directly into the trunnion itself. Taking it apart is just like a standard AK. And once again, you see a completely purpose-built bolt. All these firearms are just straight blowback firearms. Inside, you're going to find it uses standard AK fire control components. And what the Russians did is basically shorten the front half of the receiver. This is not a standard AK length receiver. They've taken material off the front, moved it back. That's why you see the other firearms, like the Definitive Arms AK9, it has the barrel coming back here. It's making up for that difference that it needs because it requires a shorter action for the shorter 9mm versus the longer 7.62x39. Now this obviously uses the same furniture as a standard AKM, same fire control, and so it has parts commonality with their service rifle. On top you have adjustable sights. They're set for 50 meters, 100, 150, and 200 meters. Standard AK type sight. Have what would be a gas block up here, but there again is no gas operation in this firearm or any of the 9mm I'm showing you this afternoon. And then we have our front sight tower with the standard AK front sight. And that's the muzzle device it ships with on the end. And then you have that little 1913 rail section there on the very bottom. The mag well on this is polymer, but so are the originals. And it uses a flap release, and it uses its own 30-round proprietary magazine. The selector lever has an extension on it, which makes it easier to swipe off. My middle finger is just long enough on AKs to be able to swipe that off. And the recoil impulse is really nice on these. I was getting ready for a long burst there, and I had a click and no bang. That's because it's out. Bolt doesn't lock open on this one like it does on the other firearms out here this afternoon. So, not inexpensive, but this is what we were all trying to get to in building the other 9mm AKs you see out here this afternoon, the Vityaz. So let's talk about the budget gun in the room. This is the WASR-M, which is a 9mm carbine manufactured in Romania. It's not made by the same Cougar factory that manufactures the PSL and other weapons like that with WASR-10. This one is made in Nova Module, and I may be mispronouncing that. It's also located in the city of Cougar, but it's not made in the same factory as the WASR-10, but it carries the WASR name, WASR-M. It was also sold on the US market. I think it's been on the market for a couple of years now, the NAK9 as a pistol. So this is the rifle version of that, and the wood looks really beautiful. But once you pick it up, you'll realize pretty quickly it's a soft wood, and it's more like balsa wood than oak. So it looks really pretty in pictures, but it's going to take very little effort to damage the stocks or break them. But it's only a 9mm, and it uses standard AK furniture, so you can swap it out with something else. You can pick up US-made polymer furniture, both for the handguards and the stock, and it's relatively affordable. It should drop right onto the gun. This gun has an accessory rail on the left-hand side of the receiver, uses a standard full-length AKM style receiver. It's even cut down here on the bottom. I'm not going to take it out because I don't want to cause it not to work, but they've cut the mag release off so you don't accidentally hit it reaching for it instinctively, and that's because this just pops into an open bottom here on the receiver, and it's really that is the conversion unit, if you will. If you take a look up front, you'll notice the dust cover is very similar in design to what was done by Definitive Arms. The bolt was set back and so was the barrel, but this has a dust cover that covers up that part. Take the dust cover off, so this is not a standard AKM dust cover. And you can see what I'm talking about. So the barrel's been set back. And this one has this polymer piece back here that stops the travel of the bolt. And it uses a standard AK looking recoil spring, but it's obviously considerably shorter, but the same design. To get it apart, you have to take out this polymer piece. And then inside, once you pull the bolt out, you'll find standard AK fire controls. And you can see how the barrel's sitting in there pushed back. Now, I said this represents the budget gun. This one is $5.99. In most places, you'll find it for sale online. And so it's, you know, a couple $100 less than the AKV9 and considerably less than the KR9. And this thing just kind of feels cheap, but to its credit, it works. Now, Jason had an AKX9, shot it, and it worked just fine. We never had any problems with it. He traded it off a while ago, but I saw these on sale and I thought, what the heck, let's pick it up and see how it compares to the more expensive counterparts. Now, when you go this route, you still have this polymer piece down here, but it just doesn't inspire the same confidence as the KR9 does or the PSA does. This feels and looks kind of cheap, but again, it seems to work just fine. But you're still going to spend $600 on it. It does use standard Glock magazines, so we do have the Happy Stick. You can insert it into the mag well, give it a good slap, charge it, and it didn't feed. To remove the magazine, you have a button here. Because again, you're instinctively going to reach for that flapper. It's been cut off for that purpose. We push that first round, the nose back into the case. Let's try it again. All right, it chambered that one. All right, it's a goofy little thing. Nastily heavy trigger, not a standard AK feeling trigger, but it uses, again, standard AK components. It even has the cleaning rod underneath it. Yeah, but no cleaning kit in the buttstock. Goofy, but interesting. The first round failure to feed that we had in the previous segment could have been attributable to this, and Jason reminded me of this problem that the AKX9 also has, the predecessor to this. You can actually over-insert the magazines into this gun. So if I put the mag in and hit it like I did, it'll over-insert and lock the bolt open on the rear of the magazine. Again, remember, this thing does not have a bolt hold on it. So that may have been what caused the problem. So when you load this gun, you don't want to force that magazine in, hit it too hard. You just want to push it until it locks. Then you shouldn't run into any feeding problems. So it's a little bit fickle. But just like his AKX9, if you don't over-insert the magazine, it seems to work pretty good. So of the 9mm AKs I've shown you this afternoon, which one is my favorite? Well, I can tell you which one my favorite is, but I can't tell you which one would suit your purposes. But what I can say is I like them for different reasons. This is what I've always wanted, the Vityaz. So if I could only have one, it would be this one, because this is a perfect US-made clone of the Russian Vityaz 9mm submachine gun. That, again, is what we're all striving for. This is what we're all trying to get to. This is what we all wanted in the collectors community and the shooters community. But other people might not care about authenticity of an original Russian design. So they would just be happy with an AK that uses, you know, standard magazines. Well, if you're on a budget and you want affordable magazines, something like this would be an option. Now keep in mind, this thing doesn't inspire confidence. I don't know how this thing would go 10,000 rounds in, let's say. I just don't know. I haven't shot it that much. I don't know that I will. You know, at $600, it was a neat purchase. It seems to work pretty good. And this is the second example we've had access to test. And it seems okay. But I don't think I would spend my money on this if I were you. I'd spend a couple $100 extra and go for the AKV9. I think this one, given its price point of right around $800, is going to be probably the most widely appealing 9mm pistol. I think they only sell them as pistols right now. They may sell them as carbines in the future. But yeah, this just has everything that you need. It uses its own magazines, which are a standard with the Scorpion Evo, which means they're really affordable and easy to come by. And the only thing that I can really ding it for is that it's just a heavy hoss, man. It's heavier than any of the other guns out here, with the exception of the full-size WASR-M. Everything's metal on it, the mag well. It's just a tank. But it works, and it works well since they did the revisions to it. And of course, if you're a collector like I am, everybody's going to want one of these just because they were such works of art. What a beautiful gun. Sadly, they're not in production, so don't call up Chase over at Definitive Arms and ask him to make you one. He's not making them. It's just a beautiful piece of history, and it's, you know, interesting that this really kind of started it all here in the US market, you know, feeding or scratching that itch for a 9mm AK. I know what you guys are asking yourself right now. Does it take Glock magazines? Well, one of them actually does. This one. Does it 80s hip fire? Let's find out. I would say so. I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at some of the 9mm AKs that are on the market, and one that's sadly no longer on the market, and maybe answered some of your questions about the different firearms and what I think of each one of them. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel, the best way to do that is to become a Patreon supporter. There is a link down below. Please follow that link, check out what some of the perks are, and consider supporting us right here at the Military Arms channel. Also, as you're watching this video, there's a little join button just underneath the video player. Click that join button, check out some of the perks, and consider supporting us right here on YouTube. And last but not least, swing by and check out coppercustom.com. Guys, thanks for 12 years of support, and we'll talk to you soon. Now for some akimbo AK action.